Hello students, this is your class called Pre-Pilates, and this is your intro basic class for Pilates. Be sure you have already watched the anatomical tutorial before you take this class. Very important for you to do that before you do this class, because I'm assuming as I teach this class that you've already looked at the tutorial, which gives you a lot of information. Okay? Now, let's start with a standing warm-up. Remember from our tutorial, we want to be in good posture, so we're going to use a neutral position. We want our pelvis to be neutral. That means that those three bones, the two front pelvic bones that stick out the most to the front, ASIS, are level with your pubic bone. So if I put the heels of the hands and the fingertips to form like a V, those three bones, bony landmarks form a V, you want that V to be flat against a pane of glass, not tipping your pelvis forward with the tailbone going back, not tucking the tailbone under. We are not tucking. We are not tucking in neutral pelvis. We are in this position, so you have your natural curves of your spine, the three bones in the same plane. In that position, bring your feet parallel to one another. I'm going to stand up here so you can see my feet a little better. And that means that they're like the number 11. You want about a fist distance between your ankle bones. We talked about that in the tutorial. And then your legs are straight, neutral pelvis. You're elongating your spine. I'll come back down now, but you'll have your feet there, and you're going to elongate your spine so that we have that neutral spine, natural curves, but they're elongated. They're not compressed, right? We're lifting, lengthening. I want you to think of, in addition to your neutral pelvis, remember the shoulder blades on the back side of your ribs are sliding gently down to open the chest, so you want to think wide collarbone across the front. Those collarbones are stretching out, and then your shoulders are lined up directly over your center pelvis. And then we want to engage abdominals. To do that, we don't need to move the bones to engage abdominals. So remember, we have our cylinder of support. First, we want to activate the transverse abdominis. To do that, you want to use the image of a real wide band, like a piece of saran wrap, stretching across your pelvis around to the back. And that's kind of flattening your belly muscles without pushing or contracting like this. You want to just brace. So I think of it as a bracing action as opposed to a contracting action. It's like a stretching across, and at the same time, as you're wrapping around this way, you're thinking of the lifting from the pubic bone to the base of the breastbone, that elongation vertically as well. And it's a subtle, subtle thing. You may not feel anything right away kick on, but gradually it should. So now put your hands on those top pelvic bones. And remember, that's not our hips. Our hips are way down here in the little crease. So our hands are here on the top of the pelvic bones. And just put the hands like that. And then I want you to imagine that the side body, right on the sides above the hands, is lengthening up away from the hands. And that should activate your side muscles, the obliques. So again, I don't want to be like this. I want to lengthen the side muscles upward, but keep the collarbone wide and the shoulders down. And then I want to keep my neutral pelvis. So it's like a sandwiching front to back, back to front. So I keep that bracing, saran wrapping across, the lifting a little bit in that side waist, wide collarbone, shoulders down, and then my tailbone just elongating a little bit to the floor, but not tucking under. And then try to keep all that as we breathe. Inhale, arms up, palms toward each other, but don't lift the shoulders. Keep the shoulder blades sliding down the back ribs. And then press the palms out and down. Now notice how straight my arm is. I'm not doing a flower type action. It's a very strong arm up, like you're pushing through water. And then a press out and down, but maintaining good positioning or posture. Inhale through the nose. Exhale gently through the mouth. And I'll talk more about breathing later on, but just right now breathe. And if in doubt, just breathe. If you're having trouble breathing when I tell you to breathe, inhale and exhale, just breathe and try not to hold your breath. That's the most important thing. Don't hold your breath. Inhale and exhale. We typically inhale through the nose and exhale through softly parted lips. Not blowing like that with pursed lips. Just open your mouth and let the air out. Again, we'll talk about it more later. Now, with that last breath, stay up, and we're going to reach from your side waist here by reaching straight up with your arm. We're not bending over, we're just reaching straight up and alternate, just kind of warming up, stretching through your side body, reaching through the edges of your arms, keeping the fingers long, the wrists long, and just feel that warming up there. Then press out and down again. Now shrug your shoulders up by your ears. Inhale, and just drop the shoulders. Exhale, just drop them. Inhale, and just drop them like that. Now we're going to change how we do it. I'm going to turn around to my back to you so you can see. We're going to shrug up again with the inhale, but this time we're not going to drop the shoulders. We're going to shrug up, inhale, and then you're going to think of the tips of your shoulder blades sliding down your back ribs to bring the shoulders down consciously. So the tips of those shoulder blades, remember they're like a little flat bone on the ribs, and those little tips are sliding down your back ribs, and you're widening the collarbone as you do that. So we shrug up, inhale, glide the shoulders down as the shoulder blades go down the back ribs towards your waist. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, glide it down. One more. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, glide down. Then reach out and up. Interlace your fingers. Place your hands behind the bony parts of the back skull. And I did this in the anatomical tutorial. The occipital bones are where you put the heels of your hands. You interlace the fingers. And so it's not on the neck or upper head. Right here. And that is your little hammock for the head. And your elbows are on a slight side diagonal. So a slight side diagonal. Not straight out, not pulling forward, just a little bit of a diagonal. Then we do that same shrug. Inhale, glide the shoulders down, exhale. Now keep the shoulders down and gently press the elbows a little more to the side. Feel the shoulder blades kind of come together in your upper mid-back. And then release to the diagonal. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, glide the shoulder blades down. Press the elbows slightly back. Now, let me caution you and release forward. When you press the elbows back, do not let your head pull forward and push into your forward direction. You want to keep the back of the head against the hands as you press the elbows back so you don't lose the alignment of ear over shoulder. So be careful that your head doesn't pull forward on that. Here we go again. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, glide down. Press the elbows slightly back and release arms down. Good. Now just circle the shoulders up, back, and down for 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Now bring your feet all the way together, touching. In this position, the feet are all the way together, so the inside borders of your feet are together. And now you're still in parallel. Think of the muscles above your knees lifting up to the pelvis. Your kneecap is gently lifted up with a fully straight knee, but you don't want to shove your knees backward. You just want them up straight. You're in a neutral pelvis, neutral spine, and arms are straight alongside you with the palms of your hands facing back behind you. So I want the palms facing back with arms right alongside you, but straight. Now widen your collarbone so that you don't let the shoulders pull forward. And we're going to take the arms forward to shoulder height and then press like you're pushing through water. Just imagine it to come alongside. Inhale forward, press through the water, but keep your posture. Now keep the arms right down. You're going to bend the knees a little bit. Keep your heels planted on the mat. And when you bend, imagine your neutral spine sliding down a wall. So imagine you're up against a wall and you're sliding down the wall and you're sliding up the wall to straighten your knees. The reason I'm using that image is I do not want you to squat. You're not sticking your little tailbone out to the back like this. No. You're not tucking under like this. No. You're in your neutral. You have your natural low back curve present. And you're simply going to slide down the wall in neutral, and it's a tiny, tiny bend of the knees. It's not real big. And you slide up the wall, straightening all the way at the top. Lift your kneecaps, engage those thigh muscles a little bit. And yes, your abdominals are always active. So I'm going to give you that image for the abdominals. It's that saran wrap I talked about. It's a bracing. It's always present. Your abdominals are turned on throughout the class. They never turn off. You don't get to let them go, because our abdominals, if you're awake, should always be on at least a little bit, like a dimmer switch. And sometimes they're on more. The dimmer switch turns up higher if we're doing more active stuff. But if you're even just standing, they're on. So remember that. Navel to the back waist, neutral pelvis, navel lifted in and up, and then the tailbone just lengthening, not tucked. And then you bend and stretch, slide down the wall, reach your arms to shoulder height, press alongside, resisting against the water as you straighten. Inhale, exhale. Again, do not squat, just slide down the wall. Keep it small. Inhale, keep your knees together. Inhale, exhale, and one more. Now go to what we call Pilates V, like the letter V. We're going to keep our heels together, open your toes diagonally, not directly side. This is not, if you're a dancer, this is not first position. First position is more turned out. We're doing a small V. It's kind of like a military stance. It's really truly on a little forward diagonal, and the heels are together. Now you can zip up your inner legs all the way, taut muscles. They're active, braced abdominals, lifted side waist, wide collarbone, shoulders down, arms alongside, palms toward the body. You slide down the wall, pause. Now, in this position, the knee is still over the fleshy part between the big and second toe. In the anatomy tutorial, we called that the first ray. Your knee is over first ray as you slide down the wall, and as you straighten, same thing. So our knee goes to the same diagonal over the big and second toe as you bend, making sure you don't roll the knees in when you bend. They are opening. And then you're using the inner legs to help zip up the legs when you straighten. So yes, the muscles activate to lift and wrap around. Now your glutes, yes, the glutes kick in a little bit more when you're in turnout. We're in turnout, the diagonal. So we want a little wrapping sensation. So it's what I call zip the inner legs, wrap around the pelvis. So I call that zip and wrap. You inhale, bend, zip and wrap to straighten. Inhale, slide down the wall, slide up the wall. Arms are nice and straight, no break in the wrist. Always the wrist is part of the arm unless I say otherwise. So in other words, when I go out and in, I don't want to break in the wrist. No, I want the wrist to be part of the arm. Inhale, exhale, one more. Inhale, press, exhale, good. All right, now we're going to come to our mat. So hopefully you've laid your mat out in a space where you can work, hopefully on a carpeted floor. If you are on a wood floor, be sure you stack up some towels or something underneath to give you a little more cushioning, but yet a flat space. I also would like you to have 2 hand towels. The hand-sized towel, fold it in half, then fold it in half again. Fold it in half this direction, then fold it in half this direction twice to form a little square pillow. We'll use it under the back of the skull later and have it to the side where your head is going to be. Then grab another, before you go any further, you can pause me to do this. Grab your other size little hand towel, fold it in half this direction and again in half this direction. We're going to use this taut for some work that we're going to do. When at school I would normally use a pole or a dowel, but for your homework, for your work at home, a hand-sized towel would work. You just have to hold it taut with a little press out on it when we're using it in place of a stick. In Pilates, we do some pole or stick work. And then in addition to that, you need something for between the legs, and what I like you to use for that is another towel, which can be a rolled towel instead of a folded towel. So you can use another hand-sized towel. And this one, I've simply rolled it, I folded it and rolled it and rubber banded the ends, or you can use a ribbon to tie the ends so it stays in place. And it forms this little thing that we're going to use as a spacer between the inner legs, right about at the knee, in order to keep your legs lined up for some of our lying down work and to activate your inner legs and your pelvic floor. If you remember in the tutorial, I said it was important that our pelvic floor kicks in. A little trick to help that happen is using the spacer and slightly squeezing on it when we do some of our work. I'll refer to that, but when I say to use a spacer, you want to be able to grab it quickly, so have all your little props next to you. So you're going to need your head support in a minute, you're going to need your longer hand towel to hold tight, and you're going to need the folded towel. Later at the end of class, if you have a TheraBand, use it. If you do not have a TheraBand, in place of that, you'll use a long bath-sized towel that you can twist a little bit at each end, and that can work in place of a TheraBand. If you have a TheraBand or any kind of stretch band, then you'll use that. Again, the replacement for the band would be a long bath-sized towel. We need a longer towel or a beach towel, a beach-sized towel for your beach. Oh, if you go lay on the beach, a beach towel. Then you can kind of twist it, and that gives you that little tautness. Okay, now we're going to lay down on our backs, and you always want to use careful movements to, especially if you have any difficulty in your low back, always tuck and roll on your side and onto your back. Then bend your knees, place your feet a fist apart like we did standing in parallel, right underneath your knees, and then put the spacer between the inner knees and squeeze on it just enough to keep it in place so it doesn't, fall. All right, then your head is flat against your mat and your arms are alongside you. Now this is going to be our supine or laying on our back positioning in neutral to start. So just like we learned in standing, I'm going to move my arms so you can see. I'm not in a tuck where I flatten my waist. I'm in neutral pelvis to start with my little tiny, tiny mouse house under my back waist, but you don't really see it because, I have muscle and maybe some extra tissue back there. And so you don't really see it, but in the bones, remember the skeleton when I laid it on the mat in the tutorial, I have to work at it a little, but I can get my hand under my waist if I'm in neutral. What I don't want to do is pop my ribs up. I want my back ribs on the mat, and that includes your lowest back rib. But I do have that little bitty space under the waist. And then my tailbone is lengthening toward the direction of my feet in neutral, but I'm not pushing it down. Okay, don't push it down. Just let it lay on the mat, like a tassel that lays on a mat, okay? Now, find your pelvic triangle. Heels of the hands on the side, pelvic bones, those ASIS. Aim your fingertips toward your pubic bones. Imagine that triangle is level, parallel to the ceiling and floor. And then we're going to go in and out of neutral in our first exercise, which is the pelvic tilts. So I'm going to hollow the belly by scooping like that belly is a piece of taffy, and it's the vertical one connected from the pubic bone to the base of the breastbone, and I'm going to scoop it in and under the ribs a little to tilt my pelvis. And when I do that, I'm not gripping my butt. My tailbone curls off the mat a little bit. My back waist flattens against the mat, but I am not gripping and bulging my belly. I'm scooping and hollowing the belly, so you have to consciously think about that. And then you roll the tailbone gently down toward the direction of your feet. The mouse house returns, and you're back in neutral. I like to use the image of a bowl of water sitting on the mat, and your pelvis is the bowl of water. And you're on the back sacrum is the bottom of the bowl, and then the front three bony landmarks are the rim of the bowl. If you think of it like the rim, they're called connected in a circle. And I'm going to tip the rim of the bowl toward me when I tilt the pelvis. It's kind of like a tuck, but I don't want to grip the butt. And then I roll the tailbone in the direction of the feet to level out the rim of the bowl. When I tilt it toward me, the water in the bowl sloshes toward me. And when I level it out, the water levels back out inside the bowl. So you can use that image as we do these pelvic tilts. Here we go. Inhale, prepare. As you exhale, start the scoop first, then the bones move to tilt the pelvis, flattening the waist. No grip in the butt yet, and roll the tailbone back down. It's a tiny movement, it's not real big. Hollow and scoop as you exhale, flattening the back waist. Roll back to neutral, inhale, back to neutral pelvis. Hollow and scoop, exhale, and roll back to neutral. Now we're going to start with that and go ahead and continue into what we call the Pilates bridge. Watch it first. I'm going to move my arms so you can see, but you would keep yours alongside, but don't do it with me yet. I'm going to demonstrate it. We inhale, scoop and hollow. Exhale, start curling a little more to roll the tailbone and pelvis off the mat. Roll up the back of the spine to right about a straight line from your knees to your shoulders ideally. And now we're in a neutral on a slant here. Yes, my glutes and hamstrings are kicking in at this point. Absolutely. And then I'm going to start in that upper chest and start sinking those vertebrae, those are the bones of your spine, one bone at a time into the mat. And I roll down sequentially. So I feel the waist make contact, then the tailbone last as I finish the roll down. Now I'm back in my neutral spine and pelvis. Okay, so we start in neutral, we end in neutral. Okay, try that with me. We're in neutral. We brace the abdominals before we move. I'm not moving when I brace the abdominals. It's just that saran wrapping. Think of a tight seat belt across, cinching up. Think of a taut trampoline across your front pelvis. That's the feeling. Now you say, well, I don't really feel it. Let's do a little something to feel it before we do the tilts into the bridge. Put your hands on your front thighs. Pull your legs into you. Then push into your legs with your hands. Get your tailbone down and get into neutral pelvis. And then resist with your legs pushing into your hands and your hands pushing into your legs. And you'll feel that bracing there probably. Now, it won't be quite that intense, but it's that idea when you put the feet down and the arms down. It'll be a less intense version of that bracing, but that's the feeling of it, except less intense. Now, let's do those tilts into the bridge. Bridge, we're calling it bridge because it looks like you're up in a slanted bridge position at the top. Inhale, prepare. Scoop the belly first. Curl the tailbone, flatten the waist into the tilt. Then continue curling to roll the pelvis up to a straight line. Don't go real high and push up onto your neck. You're just on the upper shoulder shelf, I call it. It's between the shoulder blades, on the upper shoulder blade area, and you're in this kind of straight line from your shoulders to your knees. Then sink your upper chest and check, did you drop your towel that was between your knees? Oops, that means you're not using your pelvic floor and your inner thighs. So you want to put that towel back in there and make sure you don't drop it as you do these bridges. And then roll all the way back down. Let's do that again. Inhale, pelvic curl. Exhale, roll up to bridge. Make sure your feet are not too far away from you. If they are too far away, you're feeling your hamstrings too much and they might cramp. So if you're cramping, check your positioning. And then we roll back down. What I mean by that is if your feet are really far out like I'm doing right now, that's going to make you work your hamstrings, not your abdominals. Bring your feet right under your knees and then focus your abdominals. Don't focus your back body. Focus your front body on the way up, okay? Inhale, pelvic curl, flatten the waist. Roll the pelvis up to a straight line bridge. Inhale, heavy chest. Feel, it should feel good. Feel those bones articulating into the floor or your mat and roll it down. Again, if you're on a hardwood floor and you're feeling uncomfortable, you need to put some cushioning. Lay out some flat towels and stack them like bath towels and get a little cushioning under there if you're feeling too much on your spine, okay? Inhale, pelvic curl, roll up to the bridge, pause, inhale, heavy chest, roll down bone by bone, and unravel down. Now, keep your neutral pelvis. The neutral pelvis is not going to change. And in other words, we're not going to do any tilting or tucking. We're going to keep the pelvis perfectly level like that bowl of water. So if I put a cup of coffee on the low belly here, I shouldn't spill the coffee toward me or away from me and overarch All my back ribs are down, but I want that neutral pelvis throughout this next exercise called the ab curl, or also I will refer to it as chest lift as well as ab curl. And both terms are correct in Pilates. I interchange them a little bit. And that's the one where we're going to use those interlaced hands behind the head that we worked on in the tutorial and in our warm-up. So interlace your fingers, heels of the hands behind the occipital bones, elbows side diagonal. Now in this exercise, nothing is going to move below the waist. Everything below the waist is stationary and quiet, meaning your pelvis does not tuck or rock. It stays level and neutral with a braced abdominal area. Your upper body is the only thing moving. So to initiate, and initiation is very important in Pilates, we nod our chin a little down to look toward the wall opposite us. You sink that solar plexus. That's from your anatomy tutorial. Sink that solar plexus, the base of your breastbone, toward the floor as you curl the upper chest and head forward. And look at your legs. Do not look at the ceiling at all. Pause at the top. Inhale and lower the chest. Exhale. Inhale, nod the chin. Sink the breastbone to curl the chest forward. Oops, pause. Did you tuck? If you tucked when you curled the upper body, no. We want the neutral pelvis, no crunches. We're not doing crunches where you curl both ends of the body. No. We're keeping the tailbone down, and then you lower the chest. That means your chest won't go as high. When we tuck, we're able to go higher, but that's not the object. Because if I tuck, I'm using mostly glutes and hamstrings to help me, and that means I'm not working my transverse abdominis. It cannot kick on when you're in a tuck, and your multifidus cannot kick on when you're in a tuck. We talked about that in the tutorial. So if I tuck, I'm screwing myself in terms of working my abdominals, which is our goal in this exercise. So please remain in neutral pelvis. It's hard. You have to think about it. So here's what I want you to do. Imagine, and let's take that long towel, in fact, put it underneath where it's right, the edge of it's right up against those little sitting bones almost, you know? Those little sitting bones are the bones we sit on. You can feel them. You can find those bony things. And remember, they're not out to the sides. They're way underneath you, right in line with your knees. And so find those bony things. Snug that. Now try to lengthen those sit bones toward the towel. And you can almost feel the towel almost against them. And then think of your tailbone staying on the towel. So think of your tailbone on the towel there, the edge of the towel. And when you go into this ab curl, the tailbone should not curl away from the towel. Your tailbone should stay toward the towel. And that will help keep your pelvis neutral. Remember, don't drop your little spacer either. All right, a lot to think about. Here we go. Inhale, nod the chin, sink the breastbone, curl forward as you exhale, but keep the tailbone on the towel. Inhale at the top and exhale lower. Bracing the low belly, inhale, nod, lengthen the back neck. Sink the breastbone as you curl the chest forward. No tuck. Hold at the top. Inhale and lower. I know you all want to tuck. I know it's a habit. In Pilates, we don't want to tuck when we do our chest lift. It's only a chest lift. It's not a tuck, okay? Inhale, nod. Sink the breastbone. Curl the chest forward, but don't tuck. Feel the tailbone lengthening toward the towel. And lower back down. One more time. Inhale, nod the chin. Sink the breastbone to curl. Hold at the top. Inhale. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Lower, exhale. Now, before we continue, remember I had you fold one of the towels to make a little square piece, and we're going to use that as a little head support for the remainder of this section. So I find that, you remember the picture I gave you in your files which showed head alignment. A lot of people lay down and their head is like this. They have a lot of tension. You might have tension in your upper back and neck. And if we're like this, it's very difficult on the head neck area to do these exercises, and it pulls your shoulders forward like this. And so we want to lengthen that back neck, and it's very helpful, and I like to do this for everybody. Slip that little square piece under the back of the head, not the neck, the back of the skull. Notice my neck is free to float in space. I do not have the towel under my back neck. I have it only under the back of the skull. That will feel good.
Now your shoulders can relax open with that wide collarbone a little bit better probably for most of us. So I'd like you all to do that. Put that in position and see how that feels. Then I want you to grab that other towel that I told you to have, which is the one I just put under your tailbone, and hold it above the solar plexus. Remember, the solar plexus is that soft part right at the bottom of your breastbone, and we're going to line our folded towel and keep it taut in this direction right above your solar plexus. Notice it's not above my shoulder. No, it's more forward over the base of the breastbone. Now, we're going to do a little exercise here. You're going to keep your shoulder blades plugged down into the mat. Keep the arms straight and the towel taut. Check you're not flexing your wrist, that it's straight. And then you're going to reach back behind yourself only as far as you do not feel your ribs pop up off the mat. See, I'm popping my ribs right now. I want all my back ribs down. I just fixed it. And then that's only as far as you go. You do not touch the floor. I want the arms to hover above the floor in a position where you can get all your back ribs on the mat. Then bring the arms back up over the solar plexus. We call this little exercise rib cage arms, meaning we're moving the arms without moving the rib cage. Rib cage stays placed. Here we go. Inhale to reach back. Keep the back ribs on the mat. And exhale to straight up. Inhale to reach back. And exhale to return up. One more time. Inhale to reach back. And exhale to come up. Now, let's put that down and let's put it back where it was, close to your sitting bones. Lengthen your tailbone toward the towel. And then interlace those fingers again. And now when you do your ab curl, same thing. Keep your pelvis quiet and then lower back down. And we're going to add on to this one. So we inhale, nod the chin. Exhale, sink the breastbone to curl forward. Now stay. Draw your tailbone to the mat in case you're tucking. We're going to hold for 5, and you're going to inhale and exhale as you hold. 4, keep breathing. 3, 2, 1, and lower the chest down. Again, inhale, nod. Don't move your pelvis. Sink the breastbone to curl the chest forward. Look at your legs. Do not look at the ceiling. Your head is always supported over your body, not laying back like this, looking up. It's looking forward. That takes pressure off your neck, but don't pull on the head with your hands. And hold here. Check your tailbone is down. Check you're not tucking. Take another deep breath. Navel to the back waist and lower the chest down. It's harder than it looks. It's hard to stay in neutral and stay in ab curl. So that's when we're strengthening these deeper muscles. Remember I said the transverse abdominals is very deep. That's what is keeping your pelvis in neutral. So when we ab curl and keep the pelvis neutral, you're working that deep posture muscle that is going to give you that flat belly. So definitely do not tuck when you do the ab curl. Okay? Now we're going to add ab curl with rotation. Let me demonstrate it first. I'm going to inhale, nod. Ab curl like we just practiced. When I get to the top, remember I'm in neutral pelvis. I'm simply going to rotate to the diagonal, and I'm only looking to that side diagonal just past my knee. I'm not pulling my elbow across. I'm not trying to get the bottom elbow to the floor. I'm just staying in ab curl and just rotating my upper body slightly diagonally. I do not want to pull higher. I just stay at the height I was in, and I check I didn't tuck. Then I come back to center and lower down. And then we repeat, we ab curl, we twist to the other diagonal, but we don't move anything below the waist. We come back to center and we lower down. And we're calling that ab curl with rotation. Here we go. Hands behind, neutral pelvis, tighten and brace your abdominals. We always set up before we move. We always check ourselves before we move. Inhale, nod the chin, lengthening the back of the neck. So I'm kind of looking forward before I lift my head. Then as I curl the chest forward, I slide my breastbone away from my chin. Slide the breastbone away from the chin as you curl. Hold. Twist to the diagonal. Exhale. Bring it center. Twist to the other diagonal. Exhale. Bring it center and lower down. Nod the chin. Inhale. Sink to curl. Exhale. Now, I'm going to use right and left just so we're all together. Let's go to our right side first. Twist to the right. Exhale. And center. Twist to the left. Exhale. And center and lower the chest down. Now I'm going to go the other direction first. First you ab curl. Inhale, nod. Sink the breastbone to curl the chest forward and stay. Twist to the left. Check your tailbone doesn't tuck. And center. Twist to the right. And center and lower down. We're going to repeat that. Inhale, nod. Sink the breastbone to curl the chest. Check tailbone down. Twist to the right diagonal. Center. It's just a tiny pivot to the left diagonal. Don't pull on your head and center, but look forward and lower down. All right. Now, we're going to do one more, starting to the center first. We inhale, nod, sink to curl. Check your tailbone down. Twist to the left diagonal. Center. Twist to the right diagonal. Hold center. Reach forward. Grab onto your back thighs. Use your hands to help you lift a ½ inch, just a ½ inch higher. Check. Did you tuck? If you did, put that tailbone down. Don't let that tailbone curl. Now try to stay at that height. Hands behind the head. Hold there. Inhale. Oh, yeah. And lower. Exhale. Yes, we'll feel that. All right. That's just to give you a little sense of, yes, we're working pure abs. I'm not working my glutes yet. I'm not working my hamstrings yet. I'm just working my abdominals, so I don't want to tuck or lift too high. But I do want to get those abdominals bracing throughout. All right, now let's take that little towel out from behind you and just put it to the side and and remove your little spacer. Now bring your knees and feet all the way together, touching like we did standing earlier. Arms alongside and stay in that neutral spine and pelvis. Now this time you will slide your feet a little further away from you. So you're not having your feet right under your knees. You're going to slide them out a little further away, but you're keeping knees and feet together. You're keeping the knees bent and you're keeping your neutral pelvis. And you do not let your back arch. Do not let your low back lift. Your low ribs lift at all. And so plug those shoulder blades into the mat as well and widen your collarbone and tighten and brace the low belly. That's going to help keep your pelvis stable in its neutral. So we brace like a trampoline right there and then arms alongside. Now, we're going to do what we call leg levitations. You're going to slowly lift the right leg, keeping the knee bent. I'm not going to increase or decrease the amount of bend in the knee. I'm keeping the knee at a right angle, and I pick the right leg up slowly, move it right into what we call the tabletop position. It's a 90-degree bend at the knee and at the hip socket, so that you have, like the top of your shin here is making a tabletop. Your foot is in line with your knee. It's not dropping. It's up in line with your knee, and it's not above your knee. It's in line with your knee, so you have a tabletop here. My knee, notice, is directly over my hip socket. It's not over my waist like this. Nope. It's over the hip socket, which makes it more of a perfect right angle. That positioning is very important because the more your leg comes towards you, the more you're going to start curling your tailbone, right? And we want the pelvis in neutral, so we only go to the hip socket, which is where that crease is right here. Your knee is right over that crease. It's not over your waist. It's just over the crease. And then you slowly put the foot back down with the feet together, knees together, like you're putting your foot on a pool of water that you do not want to ripple. So I'm putting my foot down very carefully with attention to how I'm moving. We're moving in Pilates, we move with slow, controlled movements. We don't just lift and lower like this, because guess what? You're not working anything. You're just working your joints. But if I slow it down and focus on my abdominals and my positioning, then my abdominals kick in and it becomes an abdominal exercise, believe it or not. And so now the left leg, you're going to slowly keep that bracing. with your neutral, you're going to slowly unweight the foot just to pick the leg up in that 90-90 to that tabletop position. No tuck, no tipping the pelvis. And then slowly put it back down like you're putting it on the pool of water. And you probably feel a little bit of activity of that bracing going on. Right leg, inhale to lift. No tuck or tilt, no movement anywhere but the leg, and slowly on the pool of water. Lift the left inhale to tabletop. Don't move the pelvis. And slowly down, exhale. Lift the right inhale. Again, these are called leg levitations. Slowly down, exhale. And lift the left inhale. Slowly down. So we're practicing not moving the pelvis while we move the legs. Now we're going to add on. We're going to float the right leg up to tabletop. Inhale. Keep it there. Now without tucking or moving your spine, tighten that belly a little more with that bracing and slowly pick your left leg up to join. And oh yeah, you should feel the belly's really working here. Now, don't smash and tuck. Keep your right angle. Don't move anything in the trunk area here. And you're feeling that work. Now, we're going to just do a half dip. We're keeping the right angle in the knee and just the whole leg dips a little out and away from me. And then it lifts back up. It's almost like I'm going to put the toe in a bucket of water out away from me a little bit, but I don't quite get there. I dip the other side. Inhale. And lift slowly. Exhale. Do you feel your abdominals working? You should. Are all your back ribs down? If not, you're not in a good position. Dip the first leg. Inhale. Keep the right angle in the knee. Don't let the foot, it's not a drop of the foot like this. This is not what we're doing. We're moving the thigh bone away from you and towards you again. So you dip the leg out and down, but keep the right angle in the knee without lifting your ribs and up. It's very difficult exercise, believe it or not. You have to focus on what you're doing and how you're doing it. Last time, inhale, we call these again leg levitations. Grab behind and grab the back legs, hug the knees to the chest. Oh yes, that feels good. And just gently rock a little side to side, easing out your low back. Yes, your back muscles are working, your abdominals are working. Both those front and back of your core worked during that exercise if you did it correctly. All right, now slowly put one foot down and then the other. Okay, good. Now, for this next exercise, we did our ab curls, and then we worked the low belly doing our leg levitations. Okay, now we're going to do a couple of more little pre-Pilates things here. I want you to put your fingertips on your front pelvic bones and let your elbows relax to the mat. Bring your knees and feet all the way together, and we're going to practice letting one leg open to the side while you do not move the pelvis at all or the other leg. And you only go as far as you feel no tipping in your pelvis. If you feel your fingers on these front, my fingers are on the ASIS, the anterior superior iliac spine, and what I call the front pelvic bones that we went over in the tutorial. And so when I open side, I don't want to feel my pelvis rocking with the leg, right? So your object is don't let your pelvis move at all. So you're monitoring it with your fingers. Now open that. Let's start with the right leg. Open your right knee to the side only where you feel no movement in the pelvis. Go slow and focus abdominals. Then slowly return back to the other leg. Legs are together at the start position, and then pause there a moment. You should again feel no movement in the pelvis. And we're going to alternate. Now your left side opens, your left leg, but you shouldn't feel any movement in your pelvis. And then you slowly return without any movement happening there. And open your right leg, inhale, and slowly return, exhale. And open your left leg, inhale, and slowly return, exhale. Good. Now, for the next one, we're going to reach our arms alongside us with the arms straight. Let's just keep our knees and feet together for now and make sure you're in your neutral pelvis and spine. We're going to reach the arms 2 inches off the mat, but a very straight, taut arm. We're going to do a small up and down pumping of the arm like you're slapping water, but you're keeping your wrist and fingers very straight in line with your arm, and you're moving from the back of the arm from the shoulder to the fingertips. So think of a connection from the back of the armpit all the way to your little finger. This is a small 4-inch range in the pump. It's not a big pump like this. Nope, too big. It's not real fast. No, it's a little moderately paced, small up and down pumping. Now, we're going to inhale for 5 pumps and exhale for 5 pumps. When you inhale through, you're going to inhale through the nose for 5 arm pumps, and you're going to exhale through the mouth for 5 pumps. All right, let's keep pumping. And now I want you to try to get with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to add the breath. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3. Now rest. Good. Now we're going to do that a little quicker, but keep it still controlled. In Pilates, when we pick up the pace, it doesn't mean we get wild. We keep it nice and controlled. One of our principles is control, and another one is precision. Another principle is concentration. I'll talk more about the principles later on, but that's what we're trying to do. Now, I'm going to cue you to lift the arms as we breathe, and then I'll cue the pump to start. We inhale, prepare. We exhale, reach the arms off the mat 2 inches. Now we start pumping with the first set of inhales. And inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale through the nose 4, 5. Exhale through the mouth 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Rest the arms down. Good job. Now, remember the ab curl. We're going to do that ab curl, but instead of our hands behind the head, we're going to do an ab curl and reach the arms that 2 inches off the mat. Let's do a few of those. And we call this the 100 prep. We're going to inhale, nod the chin. Sink the breastbone to curl the chest forward and reach the arms 2 inches off the mat. And look at your legs and make sure you didn't tuck. Keep your tailbone on the mat. Then lower the chest back down and lower your arms back down. Let's do that a few times. Inhale, nod the chin. Sink the breastbone away from the chin to curl the chest forward, looking at your legs, arms reaching a little bit off the mat towards your feet. Very straight arm, and make sure you didn't tuck. Check your tailbone down and lower the chest. One more time. Inhale, nod the chin, sink the breastbone to slide the arms towards your legs and reach. Hold inhale and lower exhale. Now, this next one, and it's very important your head is looking forward, that you're not letting your head fall back. At no time in the 100, and we're going to do the 100 prep, the next level of difficulty, and on this one, you want to maintain your ab curl and maintain your focus towards your legs. Do not at any time look at the ceiling. Watch me first. I'm going to cue you into the ab curl. We're going to start that pumping and breathing that we did a minute ago as we maintain our ab curl position or the chest lift. Notice, I do not look back up at the ceiling and let my head go back. If you find yourself doing that, oh no, that's a terrible position for your neck. So you want to lower your head and chest and continue pumping and breathing, and then lift again after your neck has had a break. It takes time to build the strength to do the 100 with the chest lifted and the pumps and maintain a good position. If you compromise and go into a bad position, it's not helping you get better and stronger. Better to put your head down and continue pumping and breathing, and then lift again after your neck has a break. Remember, you need to work at the place you are in now. Don't force yourself to do something your body's not ready for. We don't work in pain. We do not work in pain. Yes, you might fatigue, that's okay, but you don't want to compromise your positioning. If I'm in a bad position, I'm building bad habits, right? And it does not help your body get better and stronger and more flexible and more toned. So, I'm going to do this again. You're going to do it with me. And if you find yourself looking at the ceiling, that's your cue to put your head down and keep pumping and breathing with your head down. All right, here we go. Inhale, nod the chin. Sink the breastbone to curl into ab curl and reach the arms and tailbone down. Pump. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looking at your legs, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Last time, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 100, or that's 50, I mean, and lower down. And you might say, why is it called the 100? Because we do 100 pumps and 100 breaths. So 10 sets of the 5 inhales and 5 exhales. But I just did 50 right then. If you got to 50 without having to put your head down, great. If not, that's okay. We will, you'll get better, and maybe each time we come back to it, you can leave your head up a little longer. But again, it's not important that you leave your head up the whole time. What's important is good positioning and doing as I ask, and then you'll get the benefits. If you compromise your position by tucking your pelvis or letting your head fall back, you're not getting the benefit of Pilates in terms of strengthening those deep inner core abdominals and muscles, okay? So that is the prep for the 100. This next section is seated work. Now, when we're sitting in Pilates, it's often difficult if you have tight hips or other tight joints. So I'm going to show on myself. When I'm sitting in a tailor sit, which is what we're going to sit in, sometimes it's hard to get into a neutral pelvis here if I have tightness in my hip flexors in the front or a tight low back area. And a lot of us do have tightness because we haven't done Pilates yet. And the more you do Pilates, hopefully the more that will alleviate that. But in the meantime, I like to use sitting pads. Now, you can use a phone book if you have one of those old phone books laying around somewhere, or you can take a stack of textbooks or any books you might have and stack them, and so in order not to let them slide, you can either rubber band them together, or you can put a towel around the books to keep them. You want to lift, in other words. This is a little brick I'm using that it's a piece of Pilates equipment, but I just want you to see that when I sit on it, now when I sit, my knees, see how they drop and relax open? And that takes pressure off the hip socket area and the hip flexors, we call them, which are those muscles in here that get tight when we're tight in our hip area and in our low back. And so now this is a much better position for me, and you can see from the side, I can get in my neutral pelvis quite easily. So I'm right up on my sitting bones. I have my natural low back curve. It's very elongated, but it's curved there. And I have my front abdominals lifting, and I'm in a good neutral position here. And then from the front, you can see also my knees are below my waist. But if I come off the brick, because I have tight hip flexors and I also have some arthritis in my hips. So when I don't use the brick, see how my knees are up way higher, almost to the height of my waist. And now I'm really struggling here. And you can even see from the side, I'm really having a hard time. See how my back is a little bit rounded down here? And I'm really having a hard time. I have to almost grab onto something to pull myself up because this is just too much strain for me. And you might be tight and in your low back or in your hip flexors, and especially from sitting a lot. When we sit at our computers like we're all doing right now a lot, that increases tightness here. So what I'd like you to do is create a little brick for yourself, and you can pause me to do that real quick, and then you can get right on top of your sitting bones. So remember I talked about those little bones under the pelvis that we sit on. Here's a good place to find those. If you're sitting on your brick now, you rock a little side to side to find those little bony things you feel under there. And those are those rocker bones. And so I'm going to get my skeleton so I can show you bone-wise what's really happening here. So I'm having my guy sit on his little sitting bones. Now he can be in a neutral spine. But if he rocks behind the sitting bones, see how his spine naturally curves. And it compresses usually as well, and the head goes forward, yeah? So if I rock on top of those sitting bones, I have a better chance of getting into a good spinal position, and I'm in my neutral pelvis now, so these three bones are in the same plane that establishes our neutral pelvis. So that's what we're trying to do here. So again, if I'm kind of like this, I want to grab my back pant waist and pull up a little bit so that rocks me on top of my sitting bones, and I'm now elongated up more in my neutral. From the side, my earlobe is over my center shoulder is over my center pelvis, so I'm not going forward or leaning back of my center. I'm right on top of it. Can you all see that? And then try that for yourselves. And then I'm going to cross my legs in front and relax the knees open as well. Okay? Once you've done that, put your fingertips to the side and keep that elongated torso. Now, reach your, I'm facing you, so I'll be your mirror. So I'm going to mirror you. So you're going to take your left arm up. I'm taking my right. You'll take your left. And we reach vertically up and check you're not hunching that shoulder. Draw that shoulder down. And this is your side body line. We're not going to move anything below the waist. Keep your sitting bones attached to your sit pads, and you're going to lift up and over to a side bend, which we call lateral bend, and you put the other hand on the mat, and you're going directly side, making an arc in your spine from your waist through the top of the head. Notice I'm not lifting the sitting bone off my pad. I'm keeping both sit bones anchored, and I'm not crunching and letting my arm just flop. My arm and head are part of the line of the spine, which is now curving side. And then I lift from the bottom waist. Those are those obliques, those side abdominals. My side bottom waist is going to lift me up to center. So you got to work that side to come up and open. Now let's do the other side. Lift the arm up vertical. Up over to the side, only bending from the waist. Do not lift the sit bone. Keep it anchored on your pad. Keep your shoulder down, don't hunch it up, and make sure your face is looking forward toward the screen here. And so you're not looking down at the mat, and you're not letting your head just flop forward. It's really in line. And then lift from your bottom waist to come up to center and arm down. Now we're going to do that a little quicker with the breath. Inhale up, exhale over lateral bend. Hold there for inhale. Lift from the bottom waist, come center, exhale. Inhale up, exhale over. Hold there, inhale. Lift from the bottom waist and down. Once more each side. Inhale, up and over, exhale. Hold, inhale, and lift center, exhale. One more, inhale, up, over, exhale. Hold, inhale, and lift it up. Good. Now, I'm going to turn so you can see. I want you to put the soles of your feet together and push them out a little further away from you, and then relax the knees open. Take your hands on your shin, your lower leg bones, and grab them to help you pull up tall in your neutral seated. So I don't want to be slumped. I want to use my arms to help me get on my sit bones and grow tall in my neutral spine against an imaginary wall. So imagine you're up against a wall here behind you, and you're lifting that back pant waist. And now you're on your sitting bones, and the knees are relaxed open, and your soles of your feet together, and we're going to do what we call a C curve. I'm going to create the big capital C, letter C, in my spine. That means the curve is going to go from the top of the head to my tailbone, and I'm going to curve so that I'm forming a big capital C. To do that, I scoop the belly up and in. I hollow the belly to rock into a pelvic tilt. I am tucking in, so to speak. I don't like to use the word tuck. It's a tilt. And I scoop out the front body and I curve the back body, but I don't want to hunch my shoulders, and I'm not jamming my chin to my chest. I'm just nodding my chin gently down, just a little nod. And then I'm in this, I'll move my arms, you can see a C curve, right? Scooped out C curve. And then I rock on top of my sitting bones and unravel my spine upward to find my wall in neutral. Again, nice and tall in your neutral spine and pelvis. Inhale tall. Hollow the belly, scoop up and back. It's an up curve, not a compressed curve. All right, and rock back up. So I want to demonstrate that. I'm not doing a compressed like a lowercase C. I'm doing an open big capital C. So let me demonstrate it both ways. If I do a compressed C, it's going to look like this. I'm just going to curve and compress my spine. I'm just kind of compressing here, right? That's not what I want. Instead, watch it again, I'm going to hollow up and back. Can you see that difference? It's more a scooped out, up over high curve, I have to go back behind my sitting bones. So I'm not on my sitting bones anymore. I'm in a pelvic tuck or tilt, and then the rest of my spine is curving. So I still have that real front body scoop out, but I'm not, compressing. Okay, so it's how you do it that matters. All right, so let's try it again. Grab your shins, use your arms to help you sit tall, find your sit bones, grow up against your wall, nice and neutral, inhale, scoop the high belly up and back, C curve, exhale, nod the chin, rock onto sit bones, return to neutral, inhale, hollow, up and back, C curve, and rock onto sit bones and lengthen, scoop and C curve, and rock onto sit bones. Good. Now we're going to add on scoop and C curve. Keep the C curve, round forward over your legs. Lengthen from your tailbone to the top of your head to a neutral spine, but on a slant diagonally forward, like an airplane's going to take off your back on an up diagonal. And your head's in line with that spine, so I don't leave my head behind like this over. My head comes up in line with my spine, and then bring the whole thing center in one piece. This becomes a little exercise that I call a wave. It's like a curve and an over and an out and an up, like a wave. It goes over, out, and up. So let's go through those pieces again. You hollow and scoop into your backward C curve. You round forward in that C curve. You lengthen from the tailbone to the top of the head, returning to neutral in a slant, and back to center in your seated neutral. Scoop and C curve backward. Round forward. Lengthen from your tailbone to the top of the head and center. Scoop and C curve. Round forward. Lengthen to the flat back and center. Okay, hopefully you got that all right and feel pretty good with that. All right, then we're going to do those rib cage arms that we did with the towel when we were laying down. So if you grab that hand towel that's folded in the lengthwise direction twice, go back to your seated neutral on your sit pads. I call these sitting pads. You can use books, you can use a phone book, you can use stacked books. You could also use a bolster if you have it. If you're a yoga person and you have a little bolster, you could use that. You could take a group of towels, like bath-sized towels, and fold them and stack them, and you could probably use that as a brick as well. All right, or a sitting pad, I call it. All right, now we're going to take this hand towel taut, like I talked about at the beginning, and start it right across from the base of the breastbone, the solar plexus. And the arms are straight, and make sure your wrist is straight. Now we did this lying down, and we're going to do it seated. We do rib cage arms. Your arms go forward and up overhead, but you don't go too far back. I keep the towel in my peripheral vision slightly forward of the crown of the head so that I can keep my shoulders down. I don't want to hunch. And my arms are definitely straight. I don't want to bend yet. Feel the stretch at the top so the edges of your arms are reaching from the armpit to the little finger, and then forward and down to hover across from your solar plexus. Inhale up, keeping the arms straight. Do not hunch. Keep your posture in neutral. And forward to hover across from solar plexus. Inhale up, nice and straight arms, taut towel. Don't let your towel get limp. And forward to hover. Now we're going to add on. And I call this ribcage arm to goalpost, like a goalpost at the end of a football field. We're going to go inhale up. You're going to bend your elbows sideward, bringing the towel to the top of the back of the head without pulling the head forward to get it there. So my hands are a little behind my elbows, but I'm not pulling my head forward like this, like a turtle head. I don't want a turtle head coming out of the shell. I want the neck, earlobe over shoulder connection, but I want the hands a little behind with the elbows still in their position. And then I'm going to stretch up from there, trying not to come too far forward, just straight up so that you're back to where you were a minute ago, and then back to forward to hover. I hope that makes sense. So do it with me, and you should feel it in your upper mid-back and in your shoulders. It's a stretch and a strengthening exercise for the upper mid-back. It's a stretch for the shoulders and a strengthener for the upper mid-back muscles. those need help from all this sitting that we do. All right? So here we go. Taut towel, arms straight, wrist in line. Reach forward, inhale. I like to extend my fingers and tuck the thumb under. Now pause, check your posture, check your abdominals are braced. Bend to the top of the back of the head without pulling the head forward to get it there. Keep the hands a little behind the elbows as you stretch up. Slide those shoulders down. Those shoulder blades go down your back ribs as you stretch the edges of the arms, and then forward to hover. And you inhale up. Bend to the top of the back of the head only. Don't go all the way to your neck. Just the top of the back of the head without pulling the head forward at all. And reach up as you slide those shoulders down. Yes, and forward. I'm feeling it. I hope you do too. Inhale up. Exhale to the top of the back of the head. Keep the hands a little behind as you stretch up and slide those shoulders down. Reach in opposition. Edges of the arms extend and forward to hover. How about one more time? Inhale and bend. Exhale and stretch it up. Keep those front ribs knitted together. Don't let those ribs pop. And forward to hover. All right. And you should feel that a little bit. Yes. Okay. Good. Now, we're going to do just a couple of more things for our pre-Pilates class that I like to teach you before we get to the full class. The next thing we're going to do is a 4-point kneel. The first complaint I usually get is wrist problems. So I want to give you options for whenever we're doing 4-point kneel. Let me first show the position, and then I'll give you options. So a 4-point kneel means I'm on my hands and knees. I want my hands directly so that the wrist is right under the back side of the armpit, and my arms are a shoulder width apart. Then I want my knees about a fist apart between my knees. A fist between the knees is about how wide. And then I want the knees right under the crease of my hip when my pelvis is in neutral. So I'm not rounding my back yet. I'm in my neutral spine, which means I have the natural little bit of low back curve, and my tailbone and my sitting bones are both reaching to the wall behind me. Tailbone and sitting bones aiming to the wall behind. And then I'm going to draw my shoulders down and lift my breastbone away from the mat and look my focus diagonally forward of my hands. Why? Because if I look at the floor, notice my head goes down too low, below my shoulders. This is not a good position. So look diagonally forward of your hands and about 2 feet, and then lift your breastbone away from the mat so you don't sag into your shoulders. Lift the breastbone. Then tighten your belly, that bracing, but don't round yet. Keep a neutral as you tighten. Now bond your shins and top feet to the mat. Just being in this position is work. If you're feeling wrist problems, that means you're weak in your upper mid back, which is why I do a lot of upper mid back exercises like that towel one we just did. And this exercise also works the upper mid back. So if you're feeling strain in the wrist, it means you're probably weak in your upper mid back. But in the meantime, until you get stronger, I don't want you feeling strain on your wrist. So here's what you do. If you have a yoga mat, you roll the end that you're facing to get a little roll right in front of you. And then I'm putting the heel of my hand on the front side of the roll, and the fingers can rest down. Now that takes some pressure off my wrist right there. Okay? Great option to modify this with. Then you lift your navel, head looking diagonally forward, just all those same cues I gave, and you should feel like you can tolerate that for what we're going to do. If that still bothers you, another option is to take one of your towels, roll it this direction, and add a little more lift under there. Okay? This exercise is not easily done on the elbows, so if you can try to modify with the rolled edge, that would be a good option. Now, the 4-point kneel, the focus is diagonally forward, the chest is lifted, bond the shins. It's all about abdominals here too. I'm in a neutral spine here, and then I'm going to go in and out of neutral and do what we call a cat stretch. Like a cat arching its back toward the ceiling like an angry cat. You hollow into, what is this called? We did it earlier, C curve. We're doing a spinal C curve. And then I lengthen back out to neutral and find your focus here in the front. So you round your back and let your head drop down, arch your spine, navel pulls toward the back waist, then you lengthen in both directions, tailbone in one direction, head in the other direction, find your starting position again. Scoop and curl. Now when you curl, don't sit back. Do not move your pelvis back. Just go arching toward the ceiling and lengthening. You're not moving forward and back. You're arching into the contraction of C curve and then lengthening back to neutral. Two more times. Exhale to scoop. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to scoop. And stay in that round back and sit your hips towards your heels. Drop your head toward the mat. Now in Pilates, we call this rest position. Yoga calls it child's pose. I like to do it with the toes together and the knees apart if you have knee problems. And then rest over. Now you're going to practice breathing into those back ribs. Remember, I talked in the anatomy tutorial about how our ribs expand. So you want to think of your side and back ribs expanding as you inhale and softening as you exhale. Inhale, exhale. One more. Inhale, exhale, and roll up. All right, good. Now let's come to our seated position again on our sitting pads. So find those little bricks if you have them. And let's come back to your seated position for a minute. And just get into that neutral pelvis. Rock a little, find your sitting bones. And just open the shoulder blades. Widen the collarbone and let the shoulder blades slide down and relax your arms to the side. And make sure you have ear over shoulder, shoulder over pelvis. You're lifting your low back pant waist. You're getting back in a good position. And then now notice, has your body already feeling better since when we started just in this class? You might already notice, yeah, it's a little easier to sit here. Yeah, I feel taller. Yeah, my shoulders feel more relaxed. Hopefully, you feel some positive differences already. A lot of what Pilates does is re-educate and reconnect our body. And we have to use our mind to do that. So a lot of what we do is mind-body, just like other forms like yoga. We use the breath, the focus of the brain, the body. It's the brain that changes the body. And so it's very important that we connect everything and really work efficiently and intelligently. So we never want to zone out. We really want to keep our brain connected to what we're doing. So you notice I gave you a lot of information today, but to get going with our Pilates, it's very important to lay a strong foundation and build on that foundation. So in the next class, I will be reviewing what we did in this class, but I will also be adding more material. And each class that we do, you will get more material. But it's important that you keep building on this foundation. We never let go of or not apply everything we did today. And so when I refer back to some of the stuff we did and remind you of that, remember, you can always go back and do this anatomy tutorial and this pre-Pilates class. Do it more than I require you to do it in order to cement these ideas. You can do this as many times as you feel you need to do it. But it's very important that we don't just do exercises rotely. We want to exercise with focus, with precision, with attention to detail, using the breath and using control. And then we get the results we want, and only then. If we haphazardly do things, turn our brain off, that's why I don't use a lot of music. I will put some background stuff in for some of my classes, but it's more about focus. It's not about just doing movement. We focus on what we're doing and how we're doing it, and then you get great results. Okay? So hang in there. It will get a faster pace. We'll learn a lot more. This is all pre-Pilates. We haven't even really done much Pilates yet. We've done a preparatory class to get us ready for Pilates. So don't worry. We will get into our regular Pilates repertoire, but it's very important to keep going over this foundation material, as I said, and not rush ahead, but really make sure you understand things before you move to the next level. Okay, and I like to work with levels of difficulty, which means if you have issues, like low back issues, shoulder issues, any injury issues, remember, modify, go slower, eliminate anything that hurts. And you know the difference between pain and fatigue. Fatigue is okay, pain is not okay. So never go to the threshold of pain, back off a little bit. You can always put the head down if it's something where we're lifting the chest. You can always eliminate, go to the lower level of difficulty. I did really basic levels of difficulty today. You can always go back to those levels because we'll be adding levels of difficulty and adding more material. And I always give you the levels of difficulty as options when I introduce new material. And so be sure at this level it's more basic, but be sure you always do what is appropriate for you. Make intelligent choices as to what you feel your body is ready for. And if you don't feel you're ready to do something, back off, do a more modified version of it. Okay? And you can always contact me, again, if you have issues with it, through the campus email. And all that information is in your paperwork. Okay? Take care. See you at the next one.